What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I am back with another video, but this time I'll be talking about Steph Curry, arguably the best player in the NBA. And last night Steph had 46 points, and he clinched the scoring title over Bradley Beal. And you could very well argue Steph has had the best individual year of his career in 2021, and in the process, he's proved a lot of people wrong. So with that being the case, I'm going to look back on the worst Steph Curry takes of 2021. Now before I do that, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure to do so, and if you could like this video, I'd greatly appreciate it. So with that being said, let's get into the video. Now first up, we have the lovely Nick Wright, who's always fair and always objective, especially when it comes to Steph Curry. And here's one of his takes after Golden State lost on opening night to the Brooklyn Nets.
It's that we have heard, and I get the Steph hive. I understand it, and again, I think he's the 13th best player in the last 50 years. But we have heard them say, oh my God, if Steph had Russ's usage rate, if Steph had Harden's usage rate, well, if he doesn't, they have no shot this year. And I'm concerned he can't do it. That he's not built for their usage rate, that he's not built to carry an under-talented team. And again, he is great at what he is, but now they're asking him to be something slightly different, and I don't know that he can do it.
So in that clip, Nick Wright, he didn't come flat out and say it, but he was heavily implying that Steph Curry could not carry a team, going as far to say that he's not built for it, and he's not built to carry an undermanned roster. And you even had Chris Broussard in the background who said he's not. So I think it's pretty obvious Nick, as well as Chris, doubted Steph Curry coming into this year. And the one thing I want to address is the Steph Curry versus Westbrook and James Harden comparisons. So I want to do a quick comparison of 2017 Westbrook versus 2016 Harden versus 2021 Steph. Look at all three of the team's records when those players played. Westbrook's Thunder were 46-35, Harden's Rockets were 41-41, a 500 record, and Steph's Warriors were 37-26 when he played, a win percentage of 58.7. And this graphic is about as simple as it gets. It's not sophisticated and doesn't really dive deep in, but I wanted to show you guys that Steph Curry, like those other two guys, he can carry a subpar roster to the playoffs, and stats-wise all three of these players had tremendous years, and it doesn't really matter which player had the best year, which player had the worst year. It's just very important to show that all three of these guys, including Steph, can carry teams while having a high usage rate. And people in the media like Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, and Brandon Marshall, they were definitely proven wrong this year by one Steph Curry. Now next up, I want to look at a take from ESPN from Bomani Jones early on in the year when Steph and the Warriors were definitely struggling.
And he's got like sick handle and all of that stuff. There's something different. It's hard to explain what it is with Steph, but Steph is somehow like the greatest system player of all time. And I'm not saying that to shade him, but you are not going 1-4 flat.
No, that's the thing.
Being like, get us a bucket.
That's the thing. The thing is, even Little and Kyrie are different in a way that you can tell them, go get me a bucket in a way that doesn't involve, and this is not a shade to Steph Curry when I say this, trickeration.
Yes.
Like everything with Steph sets up off of the shot, off of the threat of him beating you off from 35 feet. So when he crosses you over, he's getting you off your feet because you are worried about him stepping back and hitting the three, compared to Kyrie or Dame. They're just getting.
So a couple of things I want to point out from that quick video clip. The first thing is, he calls Steph Curry a system player, which generally is seen as an insult. And for a cross-sport comparison, Tom Brady for the longest time was called a system player to downplay his impact and his overall skill. And the one thing I'll say about Steph, he is definitely not a system player. He actually is the system, and he is the Golden State Warriors. Everything for that team, going back to 2013, 2016, even 2018, Steph was always the engine for that team and the catalyst for the offense. The attention he draws on a nightly basis is unlike anything I've ever seen, and his teammates and coaches benefit from that tremendously. Now, one of the other takes they had is about Steph Curry not being a good ISO player and a guy who can get you a bucket running a 1-4 flat. Now, if you watch Steph for the past 5-7 years, you know that claim is completely false and easily debunked if you watch a Warriors game. And it wasn't Bomani, it was one of the co-hosts who actually said Steph Curry has trickeration in his offensive game, which in reality is players being afraid of Steph Curry pulling from 35 feet. which somehow in their mind is Steph Curry's fault. Now I think everyone knows that clip was total bogus, but you had to prove them wrong by using stats or some form of data. And luckily NBA.com has some pretty good stats when it comes to ISO plays. And one of those stats is the 7+ dribble stats when a player goes ISO. And this year in 2021, there were 19 players who averaged 5 or more shots a game with 7+ dribbles. And out of those 19 players, Steph Curry ranked first in field goal percentage as well as effective field goal percentage. And also, if you want to look at 3-pointers taken and players in the league who take at least 1 3 a game with 7+ dribbles, Steph ranks first in the league at 50% shooting. And I think those stats right there totally disprove their argument that Steph Curry is not a good ISO player or a guy who can get you a bucket at the end of games. Now next up, we have the great Kendrick Perkins, who's always articulate and always on point when it comes to Steph Curry.
So by that being said, when I'm looking at all around and the all around player, the skill set, and who brings more to the table, it's James Harden. And it's not, to me, it's
so
apples
Harden
and
and Steph are both available. You're taking Harden to start your team.
It's proven. When James Harden left Oklahoma City, by the way, he won 6th Man of the Year playing with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. As soon as he stepped foot into the Rockets franchise, he made that franchise relevant again, Max. And I'm not discrediting Steph.
James
Steph
Harden is a great
Hall
player.
of Famer. But
So in that clip, Perkins argued that James Harden is better than Steph Curry, which most people I talk to disagree with, but Perkins' main argument for Harden being better is that when Harden came to the Rockets, he instantly made them better and made them title contenders, which is a pretty interesting argument, especially when you realize you can make that exact same argument for one Steph Curry, proving he's better than James Harden. As when Steph came to the Warriors in 2010, they had missed the playoffs for 15 out of the last 16 years. They hadn't won 50 games since 1994. They had never won 60 games, and they hadn't been to the Western Conference Finals or the Finals since 1975. And they were historically one of the worst teams of the modern NBA. But as you guys know, when Steph hit his prime in 2013, the Warriors won 47 games, 2014 they won 51, 2015 they won the title, and 2016 they won an NBA record 73 games. So Perkins' own argument for Harden being better than Steph, you can actually flip that around and argue that Steph is better than Harden based solely on that argument, as Steph took Golden State, one of the worst teams in the league, and built them into one of the best dynasties in NBA history. Now, keeping with the ESPN theme, we'll look at one more analyst, that being Jay Williams, talking about Steph Curry early on in the 2021 season.
I just hate the word blame. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was the MVP of the league, one of the best shooters we've ever seen in the game. I just think it is what it is about Steph.
What does that mean?
I don't think Steph is on the level of a LeBron James, of a Kevin Durant, of a Kawhi Leonard. I think he is one hell of a player. That's not to diminish anything he's been able to accomplish. I don't think his skill set is enough to carry a team by himself the way we saw some of these other individuals do so. In particular, LeBron James, even when they got 2 wins back in 2014-15.
So really the same thing we've seen in this video over and over again. NBA analysts saying that Steph Curry can't carry teams. And why 2021 was so pivotal for Steph, this year he proved everybody wrong and showed he could carry a team. This year he led the NBA in scoring and had a career-high 32 points per game. He had the most threes in the NBA. He had 11 40-point games, 2 50-point games, and 1 60-point game. And Golden State, when Steph played, had a win percentage of 58.7. That would rank 5th in the Western Conference. And without Steph this year, Golden State was historically bad and simply lost on offense. And the last thing from this clip that really stood out is the very end when Jay Williams brings up LeBron James. And first up, I want to say LeBron James and Steph Curry are two of the best players of all time. I have both of them in my top 15, but they are completely different players, and trying to diminish Steph by bringing up LeBron carrying teams is simply idiotic. LeBron, you could argue, is the best player of all time at carrying terrible teams, and you could really compare anybody to him in that aspect and say they aren't as good. And bringing LeBron up to downplay Steph really makes no sense in my mind. It's like saying Magic Johnson wasn't a great player because he couldn't carry teams like Hakeem Olajuwon. Now the last clip I have from you guys of a terrible Steph Curry take from this year comes from the great Max Kellerman. In this clip, Max is going to argue that Damian Lillard is actually better than Steph Curry.
And as great as Steph Curry has been, Damian Lillard's 2 years younger and has taken the next step. You know, Steph Curry showed the way, but Damian Lillard saw that, and he's shooting from a million miles away and hitting, and is completely unstoppable offensively. And then when you look to this year, not only is his game still ascending, where Curry's has plateaued, but it's ascending, and now he has certain pieces on the team. When you examine these two guys' teams, in fact, Damian Lillard's life is going to be a little easier on the Blazers.
So that right there was Max Kellerman making a fool of himself, arguing that Steph had plateaued and that Dame had taken over the throne as the best point guard in the league. And the Dame versus Steph debate, it really should have never happened. It was unfair to Dame and unfair to Steph, and it really only lasted for about 5 minutes, as Steph demolished Dame early in the year, scoring a career-high 62 points. And yes, Dame Lillard is one of the best players in the league, arguably top 10, but comparing him to Steph should have never happened. It's like comparing someone to Jordan. Whenever you make that comparison, you're going to set that player up for failure. They're going to be nitpicked, they're going to be criticized, because they're being compared to the best in the business. So the Steph versus Dame debates, they were short-lived, and thankfully, we don't have them anymore. And that right there is the end of this video. That was 5 of the worst Steph Curry takes in 2021, and how Steph Curry proved everyone wrong. And as always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.